you will be seeing children with autism flourishing if their interest areas are found out. It's the collaborative work of the parent and the teachers. We need to have a good infrastructure. That infrastructure is not available. How many schools are there having a meltdown area for the students, having a sensory room for the students? They need to extensively work with children with autism. Unless and until we work with them, just reading the theory or reading the books is not enough.
So, hello everyone, and welcome back to the India Autism Center podcast. And this is your go-to space for meaningful conversations that we have about autism, inclusion, neurodiversity, and something that's very core to our mission, inclusion in school. Today, we are discussing with Ms. Alokananda Bandopadhyay. She's a lecturer in special education at NIPID, RC, Kolkata. She has worked extensively on autism education for teachers, and she's really helped bridge the gap between mainstream schooling and special education in mainstream classrooms. I'm your host, Sakhi Singhi, and I'm really excited to have her here today to really pick apart what inclusive education really is, what it really is in our country today, what the status is, what is really being taught, and what the future can possibly be. So thank you so much, ma'am, for being here with us. And I am going to dive into the main question, which is, the NEP, the RTE, the RPWD, all of them state that inclusion is something that needs to be present in mainstream schools. We don't see that. We don't see mainstream schools including people with neurodevelopmental disabilities. Why do you think there's this gap, and what steps can be taken to close this gap effectively?
See, Sakhi, autism, inclusive education, there are lots of barriers in this. RPWD Act have come in 2016. Mm-hmm. So after 2016, it's passed like 9 years, it has gone. But I could find that it's only in papers. The schools have not yet adopted. There are many reasons, like the first thing is the lack of proper trained educators. We are not able to find proper trained educators. Even if there are special educators, but they need to extensively work with children with autism. Autism, or the children who are in the spectrum, I'll say, they need to be reached out. We need to work with them. Unless and until we work with them, just reading the theory or reading the books is not enough. So we need to work with them. The maximum we will work with them. The special educators who are getting trained, who are doing their bachelor's or their diploma, they usually, yes, they they have the practicum in their syllabus, but it's just related to the syllabus. Relating to the syllabus won't work. They need to get exposures. Mm-hmm. So this is one thing. Another thing is the policy implementation. So how much we have been able to implement the policy. To implement the policy which are coming up, we need to have a good infrastructure. That infrastructure is not available. How many schools are there having a meltdown area for the students, having a sensory room for the students, having a proper ramp for the students? We can't find. In nearby schools, if you see, you won't be able to find. So that infrastructure needs to be build up. So getting into the policy, the first thing we need to do is the infrastructure. Moreover, what we have is we are very strict to our curriculum. We are very strict to our board curriculums. We are not flexible with that. We are not flexible with our assessment or evaluation methods. So those areas need to be catered into. Like, how will I assess a child with autism? How will I frame the curriculum for a child with autism? Or how will I modify my teaching methods, my teaching strategies, my teaching learning materials that need to be specifically modified for them? If I go into a regular class of 50s and I am teaching them, and one or two children with autism is there in the class, that's not enough. My teaching strategy won't reach out to them. So the modifications need to be done. And financial crisis. The schools, the government is not allotting funds for a nice reinforcement corner for children.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to create an environment. That environment creation also requires funds.
Yeah,
So
100%.
that funds is not being allotted. So these are the barriers for inclusive education, specifically if I say for children with autism.
Got it. So this actually brings us to a very important aspect, which is you've hit the nail in the right place, which is funds. Eventually, it is all, if there's one class teacher for a class of 50, it's not possible,
No.
to give that special attention or tailor your program basis the need of the 50 children. But I have seen that some schools do integration, but they almost compromise on it. They make this very, very nasty compromise, which is, they can only do so much. They can't do more than that. So, how do you think that Indian schools can really accommodate individuals with autism? What are the strategies? You mentioned some already, which is the sensory rooms and um, a good calm room. But what do you think the strategies can happen? Let's say today, all of these schools that currently exist in Kolkata that we are in, they were to be made inclusive. What was the first thing? And let's say funds were there. What was the first thing that you think you would want to implement?
See, Saki, there is a difference between integration and inclusion.
Okay.
Integration is something where the child will be there for maybe the dance, drama, music classes, co-curricular activities classes, or during the recess period. But when it comes to academic, the child is being pulled out. But here, what happens in integration, we look that the child is a problem. But inclusion says, nah, the child is not the problem. The environment is the problem. So you need to restructure your environment. You can't pull out the child from the class.
Got it.
So to have this, the first thing we need is, as I told, the infrastructure needs to be recreated. Moreover, awareness. Awareness among the other group of parents, awareness among the stakeholders in the school. Okay, that is very much required. In this awareness, I will also include the in-service or pre-service training of the regular group of teachers. We may also adopt a co-teaching method where the special educator and the general educator, they will collaboratively work with the children. It's not that only the general educator will be taking the whole responsibility, that a co-teaching method or parallel teaching can be implemented in the classrooms. So, in this way, we can just put them in the class, keep them in the class. They should be included. The first attempt is to keep them in the class. Then, as I told you, the evaluation system, how I will be evaluated. Like for the regular group of children, I am giving a subjective type question. I may adopt my way of evaluation for these children with special needs in my classroom, giving multiple choice question also.
Right.
Like if I tell you, like I have to prepare a question paper of 30 marks. So among that, 15 marks will be a multiple choice one and 15 marks that may be the subjective questions to assess the other group of children. Now, what happens, like we do not find out the interest of children with autism. Let me tell you, like children with autism, they have a specific interest area. It's not that they are not interested in studies or they are not interested in co-curricular activities. We have to reach out to them. We need to know What is the interest area of the child? You will be seeing children with autism flourishing if their interest areas are found out, if the parents are able or the teachers are able to find out their interest areas, and they can go a much longer way. I have seen children, it's the collaborative work of the parent and the teachers. It's not that only to keep children or to make a school inclusive, only the teachers will have to work.
I have a question to ask you, ma'am. So, do you suggest that with principle that something is better than nothing, that at least integration might be better than having, let's say, special schools?
Yes, many schools nowadays, they are having integration. They are following integration. It's better. It's better than segregating them totally in a special school. But segregation does not mean that we have just separated the child. Sometimes segregation is also important. Sometimes segregation is also important so that the child in a group of 50s, the child is not able to show what he or she knows.
Correct.
Okay. So getting together with the teacher in a separate room, maybe the child is able to show what he knows. Like I told you, it's
like you
very,
just mentioned that it's important
very
for parents
important to find out the interest. And the parents need to share. Like usually what happens, there are many parents who doesn't even disclose, who doesn't even open up. This is why. This is just because of the lack of awareness. Like, hum bolenge, if I say that my child is having autism, I may not be allowed in the society functions. The school may say that no, the school may reject the child. There are many parents coming up, Sakhi, like, yes, madam, school, जब ये बोलो कि जाओ स्कूल में जाके एडमिशन लो, रेगुलर, ही इज फिट फॉर रेगुलर स्कूल, दे कम बैक टू अस अगेन एंड दे से कि द स्कूल इज टेलिंग दैट ठीक है चलो नाम एनरोल कर देते हैं बट लेट द चाइल्ड स्टे एट होम. So again, to achieve inclusion, they should know about their rights. They should know about the policies which are coming up, like least restrictive environment. They should be aware of all these things.
Yeah.
So it's our work to not only to make the parents aware, but also the society aware. So regular, we can have simple, like street plays can be conducted to make the regular population aware. Okay, many people nowadays, it's okay, autism. Autism is a fancy. It has become a fancy, autism. But what exactly is, where I need to tap into to train the child, even the parents doesn't know. Even the parents are not aware. There are many, since I work in NIPID, I will tell you that only 40% of the parents, I can say ki look into the websites or search for these books or use these type of strategies. But the rest of the 60s, what about the rest of the 60s? They are not aware that I need to Google into or I need to search into the webs to know about autism, to read about autism, and that I can implement in my house. So they are not. So this awareness creation is very much necessary.
Something about awareness creation that you mentioned was very interesting to me, about parents of children of neurotypical children. You mentioned that, and I've actually heard instances where parents of neurotypical children are not willing to send their child to an integrated or an inclusive school. The main reason being that they think that that would be detrimental to their own child's progress. So they think that the child would probably become, so to speak, slower, or would also maybe do so-called socially unacceptable behaviors like stimming. Is that true? Does that happen? Let's say if a child, a neurotypical child, goes to an integrated classroom or an inclusive classroom, do they pick up on learned behavior? Because children do pick up on learned behavior. But does that, according to your experience, what is your take on that?
No, they pick up behavior. We know that children with special needs learn from imitate. They usually imitate. But here, I'll tell you a point, like, we need to orient the peers. Before we put a child with special needs in the class, we need to orient the regular group of students who are there. They need to be sensitized. Like, this is the classmate who is coming, he has all these issues. So, how to behave with that child? How to empathize with that child? How to share the academic details with that child? So, this sensitization is very important. And this sensitization will help you in both ways. Like you are telling, this neurotypical children may pick up the behaviors, or I may say that from them, because they have lots of behavioral issues, from them the regular group also may pick up. This vice versa. So this can be protected if the regular group of peers are sensitized beforehand. Before I plan to make this classroom inclusive, I need to sensitize the group of children who I have with me.
Correct.
So that is very important.
Yeah. With this increasing focus on inclusive education, it's funny because I've been hearing about inclusive education for so long, but I don't very much see it in practice. There are a few people who do a good job at it.
Only in papers.
It's in paper, and it's in maybe some situations, but not fully. You mentioned that in some cases it might be necessary to segregate children to understand their needs, understand better. But eventually, do you think that segregation needs to go back into either integration or inclusion? Or do you believe that there are instances in which segregation is absolutely necessary when it comes to, their daily academic / daily living needs?
Segregation is necessary for specifically those children who have lots of problem behaviors, who cannot be controlled in a group of 50.
Right.
And when we need to know the child closely. And our target will always be that we include them in the mainstreaming, maybe after a session of training, or even if it is problem behaviors, we can cater to their behavioral needs. So after the training sessions, let's give a trial. Let's put that child in a group of maybe 10, 20, not a 50, a 10 or 20, with a parallel teaching, with the teacher together, with the parents being oriented, with the parents being given training, so that the same thing can be implemented at home also. So it is important during that time, but we need to come back to inclusive education.
Eventually, it all has to.
We need to come back to inclusive education.
So I'm just drawing something from my own personal experience. I grew up in a very competitive high school, inclusive high school, meaning inclusive education was unheard of. From your experience, ma'am, do you think peers, classmates, are they understanding to include enough? Or is that also something that the teacher has to take the burden of, to make sure that the peers are maybe, including their classmate, making sure that they're involved in all the activities?
See, Saki, research have already shown that peer-mediated instructions are always beneficial. So, for children with autism also, there are very few, but researches are also there where peer-mediated instruction have been proved to be successful. Yeah. So, that may be cross-age peer tutoring. But the exposure to the peers, that what issues may arise in the classroom, that a child with autism may have meltdowns in your classroom. So how to adapt with that situation? Let me tell you my personal experience. Since I was there in NIPID for long, when my daughter was 3 to 4 years or 5 years, I used to take her to my institution because I wanted her to know these children with whom I work. So I used to take her. Now, whenever she is traveling somewhere or she is with me outside, she identifies. She says me, Mama, this child is having this problem, I think. What do you feel? So this awareness generation, this is also a part of awareness generation. When you are sensitizing a peer, you are generating awareness. That peer is going to inform their parents. No, this child is this. So it's a chain process. So it will move on as a chain from one person to another person to another. Like when you were a child or when I was young, did we see television serials or movies which are showcasing children with autism? No. But nowadays we are seeing.
Yeah.
That's a part of
The awareness
generation program. But we need to be specific, like the correct things should be portrayed.
Yeah. So tell me something, ma'am. According to a lot of people, they say that to get into this field, all you need is empathy and the willingness to make a difference. Like, but like a lot of teachers, even with all of the great qualifications they have, cannot teach well. But there are teachers who, let's say, do not have the fancy qualifications and are great teachers. Do you think in the field of special education, any of these um, degrees, experiences, expertise really matter? Or do you think that, because the reason I'm asking this is, why is there a difference between a regular teacher and a special ed teacher?
See, when I teach my students who are doing their B.Ed or M.Ed, I usually tell them the first thing is your theory marks, no one will look into.
Mm-hmm.
No one is going to look into your mark sheets. If I was to recruit you, I will not look into your mark sheet. I will look into your skill.
Correct.
I will put a child here, I'll put you, and I'll see how you are working with the child. So marks or the theory, it's a part of the syllabus. It's a part of your study. You need to know about these children. But the thing is your skill development, how much you are skilled in sitting with them. Even if when I go for any practical examination, I don't, maybe the the student is doing a group teaching. I don't look into their charts, or I don't look into their teaching learning materials. I look into how the class is being managed, how she is managing her class. If it's a class of 8, I'm talking about a special school. If it is a class of 8, how the children are seated, whether they are actively participating in the class. This is what skill is. How well, how beautifully I'm preparing my chart, or how beautifully I'm preparing my teaching learning materials, or how perfectly I'm writing my lesson plan. These all are secondary. The primary is how I am managing my class, how I am able to interact with my students.
Yeah. So, pardon my ignorance, ma'am, in terms of, to become a teacher, you need a B.Ed.
Yeah.
And to become a special
educator. To become a special educator, you need either you need diploma in special education, or you need B.Ed in special education.
So B.Ed in special education is different from just a regular B.Ed.
Regular B.Ed, yeah,
is different.
It's totally different.
Okay.
And this special education, again, there are specializations, whether it's on intellectual disability, or it's on visual impairment, or it's on hearing impairment. So there is.
So the skills that you spoke about, these are the skills that basically you get equipped with when you are taught a B.Ed in special education.
Yeah.
So when a regular mainstream teacher is trying to include someone with disabilities in their classroom, this is not someone who has been equipped with special education tools. So and it's sometimes difficult to go back and study and do your special ed diploma and all of that. What are some effective strategies that you give to those teachers who need to make sure that they're including everyone in their classroom, which is effective according to you?
See, first is when if I am placed, if I come to know that in my class, I will be having children with autism, or I will be having children special needs, let me say. So the first thing, which is the teachers need a training. That may be an in-service training, or that may be a pre-service training. Training is, without training, I think it won't be the correct way to approach children with special needs. This is the one. The second one is for few days, like for the initial period when they have started working with children with special needs, they need to have a parallel teacher. A parallel teaching may go on, or a co-teacher,
Okay.
a special educator who will be supporting them, who will be planning the goals. Because from the regular curriculum, or from the regular way of teaching, children with special needs benefit with, if I plan a goal for the child, like individual goals. We all know that they are very unique. Not No one child is same as the other. So they need IEP. They need individualized education plan. So for this planning, for this support, always a special educator for few months, the special educator must be there. And moreover, there should be again the training in changing, how to adapt to the curriculum, or how to make changes in the teaching learning materials, or how to interact with children with autism or children with special needs. Regular communication with the parents.
Got it.
Because the child, maximum time the child is staying with the parents. So the teacher needs to know that what other behaviors the child is showing in the at home.
Correct.
How the child is behaving with the other people. How the child is behaving when he or she is going to a restaurant. So these things, these minute details the teacher need to know about the child.
Okay.
And a rapport build up.
So, of course, this all comes down into funding and infrastructure.
Okay.
A lot of the challenges that is faced in integration or inclusion is the sensory challenges. That the class is too big, it gets too noisy, there's the bell rings, all of that. What are the few I keep saying this, what are the few strategies that you can give to maybe teachers in this training that you train them for special education to help the children cope up with their sensory challenges?
As I told you, in the initial only, I was telling few strategies. So a sensory corner for the child is very much necessary in a school or in a classroom, where the child, there may be a small music system. There may be a glass bottle with some glitters in it. Or nowadays you will be finding like the glass bottle with lights, LED lights in it. So those things, we don't need many expensive things, but little things. A bottle of slime for the child to manipulate. So these type of corners. And then again, I personally prefer a reinforcement corner. Like when the child is showing me a desirable behavior, I need to reinforce the child. Then only I will be able to motivate the child in my classroom. So a reinforcement corner that can be given. Technologically, we are very much advanced. Noise cancellation headphones.
Right.
Okay. Those headphones that can be, again, the funding thing comes up. But I would like to share you, Sakhi, like government has taken initiatives. West Bengal itself, regular group of teachers are being oriented from time to time online.
That's lovely.
Okay, yes. Even the rural schools, the teachers from the rural schools, they are given online classes by renowned special educators or psychologists of West Bengal. Sessions are being recorded and that is being played in the schools for the teachers. So initiatives are being taken. We may be slow, but slow and steady wins the race.
Yes, that's for sure. When it comes to engaging students in the classroom with special needs, and of course, funding is a huge thing that we mentioned. But there are few simple things, like we have Pooja that and she makes these lovely teaching learning materials for play therapy. What are your favorite teaching learning materials that you suggest for maybe an age group of the toddler age group? Like, is there any that you suggest?
The Montessori materials, those are very good manipulatives. Though it's a bit different from the special education materials. Those are wooden materials, but it is very good manipulatives. rather specifying teaching learning materials, I will say that these teaching learning materials should be attractive to the students. The students, a teaching learning material should be such that even me, if I see, I'll feel like picking it up. I'll feel like manipulating it.
Right.
So then only the children will be doing it.
So Montessori method is very interesting actually. It's one of the best ways to...
Best ways of teaching. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's relevant to special education. But we have taken few things from Montessori. We have not exactly adopted Montessori method. But the materials, it's very colorful. It's for the playgroup children. So the manipulation of those materials, it's very good. It's nice. The materials are nice.
There's this conception in India that Montessori is only for for babies, for kindergarten. But I learned and I read about Maria Montessori's journey. She had created this for pretty much everyone from the start till the end of their school life.
Exactly.
Of course, again, it brings us again to the conversation which you started the podcast with, was infrastructure and funding are the two things that hinder it. But I do suggest to the viewers to have a look at the Montessori method, and I'm sure ma'am will suggest that too. To get a better understanding of how to include folks in the classroom. So that actually brings me to something that we had started this conversation also with, about advocacy, about parents knowing better of their own rights. What, according to you, ma'am, are effective ways that parents, educators can advocate better for inclusion in their classrooms? And how do you see this impact change over the next course of years?
See, there are parents who are advocating for their rights. Advocacy is always acceptable. It's required. But it should be in a collaborative way and in a proper way. Like in schools, parents reach out to the principal. Parents reach out to the teachers. So always I'll say that working with children with special need is a collaborative work. I single-handed can't do it. Or you
100%.
Single-handed can't do it.
Yeah.
You need the parents, you need the teachers, you need the other stakeholders. Even the Group D staff of the school is required to work with these children. So initially, advocacy, the parents should correctly know about their rights. If you have a survey, or if you look into, or if you talk with the parents, you will see many parents are not at all aware of the different concessions and benefits which the children with special needs get.
You mentioned ki, of, let's say, 10 parents, only 4 parents will check the website.
Check the website.
Yeah.
They are not aware of the concessions and benefits. Even हर दिन आता है स्कूल में, हर रोज आता है, फिर पूछेगा कि रेलवे कंसेशन कैसे मिलेगा मैम, कहाँ पे जाना होगा मैम. तो ये चीज की
Where is all of this information found? On NIPID website?
NIPID website, you will get it. Just log into the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment website. You will get all details. So there are legal guardianship provisions. Like last week only, a parent came to me. She's the mother of a person with disability. He's 32 years. So she came up ki legal guardianship, I have taken legal guardianship, but I myself have become the legal guardian of the child. Now what will happen, madam? Abhi kisko de legal guardianship?
Right.
The child has a brother, elder brother. The elder brother is a doctor. So this awareness is not there ki jab bhi legal guardianship le rahe ho, when you are taking up with legal guardianship, make the brother the legal guardian. So these orientations
are important.
It's very much important. The parents should be aware of their rights. They should read through. If not, they should reach to the professionals. And the professionals, it's our responsibility to take up time to time training programs, not only for teachers. I was talking about the teachers, but for the parents also. Like how to deal with the child in the when you are taking back from the school.
That's so important. So basically, know your rights.
Yeah.
You can only know your rights if you do the research enough
Yeah,
for it.
exactly.
And if there's an awareness also for it.
Exactly.
So there's actually an organization, ma'am. I don't know if you've heard of it, and I want the viewers to know of it. It's called Nai Disha. I don't know.
Okay.
So Nai Disha, they're pretty famous in not really the east, but they're pretty famous in that part, like on the west. They're trying to do a lot of work in Bengal, and they do great work. So, sometimes it's complicated to navigate the government website. You don't know what and how what your rights are. Naidisha actually makes it in regional languages.
Yeah, I was going to tell you, like
Yeah.
these concessions, benefits, if we bring out with brochures having the Bengali version of it or the Hindi version of it, so that will be great for the parents.
Yeah. So in this podcast, actually, I'll even link Naidisha's website so that people can have a look. And ma'am, I'll also send it across to you. They do some great work. So maybe your stakeholders can also benefit from it. I will now since we'll be wrapping up, ma'am, before we wrap up, I want to do a quick true and false session with you. I'm going to say a statement.
Okay.
You will say either true or false, or you can give an explanation to it. So, true or false? All children with autism benefit most from being in mainstream classrooms.
All children, I won't say. Few children benefits, because the benefit from an inclusive classroom will depend on the capability of the student profile, the current level of the student.
Right.
So, in my opinion, the statement is false. So, few children may benefit, but not all.
So my second statement, true or false, sensory-friendly classrooms are expensive and difficult to implement.
No. We can create sensory benefited classroom, or a corner with very low cost materials, with our household materials, just simply creating a sensory bin where I will put different types of, maybe I put rice, cereals, rice, pulses, all. In between that, I keep small toys. The child will just put hands and find it out, a treasure hunt. That can be created in a very low cost. It's not always expensive, but the teacher needs to think of it. The teacher needs to think about the child and then plan these activities.
Where do these ideas usually come from? Is it just like YouTube and Google it, or is there some specific manual to follow?
Manuals are there. We have our Nippet publications. There we have teaching books on teaching learning materials. But nowadays you can search on to Google. You will see different activities.
Right.
But I will say that activities, whenever you plan, you need to think of the child first. What the child needs.
Got it. Our third statement is true or false. Inclusion works best when educators have access to formal training, formal autism
Exactly. Right. Educators need to have formal training. It's not easy to reach out to children with special needs.
Got it.
I need to reach out to them so that they open up in front of us. For that, a formal training is required.
Got it. And my last statement is true or false. Peers of children with special needs often show greater empathy and leadership when they're sensitized early.
Yeah, I told you that they need to be sensitized. This sensitization will develop a sense of empathy, like bringing them up. Like, I need to, अच्छा चलो तुमसे नहीं हो रहा है, चलो, I will support and I will pull you up.
Yeah.
So this attitude will come once they are sensitized. Otherwise, if this sensitization is not there, it will lead to bullying.
Correct.
Okay, so sensitization is required.
Got it. So, ma'am, as we end this wonderful, insightful conversation we've had, is there any closing thoughts that you want to give to the viewers, or you?
I'll say that building a rapport will be your first step to sit with children with special needs or to work with children with special needs, I should always have a rapport with that child. Then only the child will express his or her feelings to you. So that rapport building is necessary. You need to build that rapport with the child. Once you build up the rapport, you will see the work becomes very easy for you.
That's so
The
true.
work becomes very easy for you, and you will see, you will love this field. You will love working. Though many a times we find that regular group of teachers, they move backwards. They don't want to reach out. So here, if you reach out to them, if you build up a rapport with them, if you start working with them, this is a great job. It's very much enjoyable job.
And rewarding.
Yes, rewarding. Small things. A hug is a reward.
Yeah.
It may be he or may, whatever I'm teaching, the content, he may not be able to give me that content back, but a hug is a reward. Okay, so that is the thing, this will be my ending word. If you want to work with children with special needs, you need to reach out to them.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this insightful conversation. It has been great really delving into this topic. There's so much more to talk about. And I hope we can get you here again to talk more about this. To all our listeners, I really hope this has been an equally insightful conversation for you to have listened to. If you're a student of education, neuroscience, or even autism, I'm sure you've had a lot to learn from this conversation. We hope that this conversation with ma'am has given you not just plain insights, but also strategies that you can go back and implement. So if you like watching such videos, you know it goes a really long way when you like, share, subscribe, comment. So please consider doing that. And if you're missing us, don't worry. You can click on any of these links and watch another video. Until soon, thank you so much.